You are now live on the trend with Rebecca Granet.
Thank you, Stephen Evan Cantor. That was great. I'm going to start my intro now. This is the best way to start. So Broadway has dancing, it has singing, it even has cast members flying over audiences. But you know what it's never had? An a cappella musical until now. In Transit is Broadway's new musical comedy, and it's coming to you from the Trent today with three of their stars. Stephen Evan Cantor, who plays Boxman in the show. Welcome. I'm going to like dance instead of actually doing it. Margo Seibert, welcome. You play Jane.
I do. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. And Justin Guarini, you play Trent. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here. Woo, well done.
Hey,
and we're out.
Well done.
There you go. Thank you, everybody.
That was great. That's our new theme song. I'm telling you. That was fabulous. That was fabulous. So that was a little bit of a sampling of what you can see potentially in Transit. And what the show is all about, Margo, I want to start with you. It's about sort of these young professionals in New York trying to make it and connecting with each other at the same time. Is there any type of added pressure representing the culture of New York in New York?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I actually think it's a really exciting challenge because, well, most of us, heaven doesn't necessarily, now you live here, but a lot of us have lived here for a good long while and have actually truly experienced the hustle, the grind, in and out of work, the temping, the part-time jobs. So I think that we're portraying something that we've all felt, two fellow New Yorkers. And I think people really see themselves in the show. And it's very audible, I think, in that space also at Circle in the Square. People feel a real freedom to participate in the show, I think, because they're seeing themselves or they're seeing part of their own struggle.
So for those who don't know, Circle in the Square Theater is a circle in a square, just aptly named, right?
It is indeed a circle in the
We
square.
don't try to trick you around here, you know?
Yes, it's on 50th Street. So the audience, we're on a three-quarter thrust, so the audience is around us on three different sides. So it's a very in the round feel.
Are there any challenges to performing in that type of an environment where the audience is around you rather than in front of you?
Absolutely. I think just you want to be able to deliver every performance and play parts and elements of the show to the crowd, and with the crowd being in a thrust position, it's you're constantly having to remind yourself that there's an audience that is behind you potentially at parts, as well as, you know, to the left and to the right. And so being able to, you know, I guess make yourself visible and bring out that story as much as possible.
Yeah, I actually find it really liberating because with a normal audience, you have to face front or maybe just to the side, and you know, you never really want to turn your back to the audience. That's kind of one of the old adages. But with this, it's like if you're in a scene and you're pacing back and forth, I think it's great because I can just make turns and do things that I normally wouldn't be able to make in a normal house. And what I love about the Circle in the Square is that, unlike next door at the Gershwin, where it's a huge 1,600-seat theater, and sometimes you're way in the back. I mean, you're, what, like 30, 40 yards away. With this, you're no further than 20 feet from the actors. And you get to act in a different way. You know, usually you're supposed to act to the back of the house in Broadway and in theater in general. But this, you almost get to film and television act. And it really, the audience leans in. Like Margo said, they're audibly engaged in the story.
And Justin, obviously, among your many other projects, people will recognize you, remember you from American Idol in 2002. You tried out in 2002, but also had been offered a position on Broadway in The Lion King.
Yeah.
And
Were you?
yeah, so you kind of chose to go a different route, which I guess did pretty well for you.
Yeah, it worked out. I got no complaints, right? But no, Broadway has always been a goal for me ever since I can remember, really. I mean, I had in 2002 been auditioning for The Lion King for years. I mean, since like in the late 90s. And so as fate would have it, I get this call from Jay Binder's office, who also cast us in this, funny enough. It would have been my first show. And they're like, hey, we got this great part for you, and it's an ensemble. And if you've ever seen The Lion King, the ensemble folks work in that show. And, you know, I was I don't know, 22 or something like that. So that would have been a great thing to make my debut at 22. So I said, oh, well, there's this thing in Hollywood. I don't know what it really is. I might get cut. Can I call you in a week? Long story short, I called them back and I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna go.
I have to go
Thank
meet
you
Simon,
so very
Randy,
much.
and Paula.
Right.
Thanks for the
But
offer.
the real 360 moment for me was when I, about 10 years later, had my first opening night party for Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, which is my first Broadway show. And we had our opening night party in the Millennium Hotel in one of the conference rooms where I first auditioned for American Idol. So it was my 360 moment.
That was your
Yeah.
full circle moment.
Yeah.
That's such a fabulous moment to have. I love that. Stephen, so everybody just got a little sample of what you do in the show. I think hip hop has been taking Broadway by storm recently. It's very, very special. But when you started, there's no way you could have known that you were going to get to display your talents on Broadway. How does it feel to get to be embraced for what you do on Broadway?
You know, first off, you're right. It was definitely not something. I don't think at one point in my life it's something that I foresaw. But it's very. I'm honored and I'm humbled, because it's an opportunity, I feel, for my art to come to this platform and for people that don't know about it to get to experience it.
And Margo, what are some of the special moments that people who come to the show are going to be able to experience? What do you think they're going to be able to relate to?
Well, I think first and foremost, everyone is pretty much used to, when they go to see a Broadway musical, hearing an orchestra. Which is a wonderful experience, and I love singing with an orchestra. And that was kind of a very exciting yet terrifying part of starting with this project, as we are the orchestra.
Yes.
So
I have to tell you about that. So I came and saw the show. It is incredible for anybody who is even thinking about you have to go see this. It is unbelievable. And I found myself so many times forgetting that there was I was relaxed
That's a goal.
into the show.
I think actually, oddly, I find myself forgetting, even though we are singing backup. We sing all the underscoring, the backup for every song, along with our own solo pieces. And now it's completely in our bodies, and so I feel like it's not until that last moment where we're taking our bow where I go like, we made all those sounds. Wow, good for us. But I feel like without the orchestra, that is something that is so unique, and because of the space, because it's intimate, because it's practically in the round, I think there's something that happens, whether or not the audience is necessarily knows this from the get-go. But listening to 11-part harmony, you cannot help but kind of be completely. You kind of surrender, and you are part of us. You see us supporting each other. We get the support from the audience as well, and it's a really beautiful experience. It's a show about joy, you know.
Yes.
And I think that's what you find when you come and you spend your hour and 40 minutes with us. You get a really good dose of joy, which is really needed right now.
Absolutely. What are some of the unique challenges in doing an a cappella musical? So when you guys came together and you harmonized,
how much time you got?
Yeah. Well, I want to hear everything. So no, okay. I mean, I imagine that's incredibly even just from the standpoint of resting your voice and making sure that that's ready to go too, right?
It's rare that we're not singing or not sound effectsing or something. I think one of the biggest challenges for us was to do something that is so seemingly simple but complex in this situation, and that's listening to one another. It's something that, fortunately, because of the level of professionalism of the people in this cast and the experience, that was really natural and happened. But we literally sat for almost 2 weeks in a room rehearsing, learning all these parts. And it's one thing to learn melodies, but it wasn't just that. There are dits and dots and percussive sounds that we have to make, and all these really strange things that sound by themselves completely crazy. But when you put them together...
What's an example of something like that? So
oh my goodness.
I around the
Not to
house,
put you on
I
the spot,
sang.
but-
I sang. My boyfriend was like, "What are you doing?" I kept singing, "Dunk, dunk, 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 dunk." don't. And he was like, what's the rest of the song? I mean,
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know,
Make
that's
it
my
go
part.
somewhere, Margo.
Yeah.
And is that part of how does that fit in for
That's
you?
part of, so that is my part of my line, I, as like soprano 2, I think, in one of
4 Days
Justin's,
Home,
in
yeah.
4 Days Home, one of Justin's numbers. And the other crazy part is that we don't stop singing just because we're backstage or just because we're changing our clothes.
It's really funny, actually.
The
It's funny.
backstage life is
That's
incredible.
one of my
what
favorite
happens back
parts.
there?
Is that like there's a show going on in front of the stage, and there is definitely a show every single night, every single time, and it's a show for us.
Yeah,
It is-
it's
it's
Really?
definitely for us. We're always talking
What
about
happens?
it, and it's
You're changing your clothes, you're pulling on pants,
Yeah.
and you're going do 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 do, and you're trying not to like alter the
Putting
sound.
things over your head.
putting over your head.
Yeah.
So this
You know.
takes like wardrobe changes to the whole next level because
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to be
Absolutely.
on
There's-
key and everything at the same.
Yeah.
What?
There's mics attached to our heads,
Right.
and so even like the brush of taking clothes off,
clothes,
that
yeah.
and the songs don't stop.
Yeah.
The ensemble must go on.
Yeah.
So what
a great line.
and that I think becomes part of the magic. In the end, like you said yourself, when you're out there, it seems like there's just a track playing. But that was the
Yeah.
goal, I think, of the
Yeah.
entire creative team, and part of the goals of this project.
For sure. Normally in a a cappella situation, you either stand in a circle or a semicircle
Watch
or
each
a
other's
horseshoe.
voices,
Yes.
watch each other's mouths.
You're all over the
We
place.
don't have that luxury, right? So we
we
had
have-
to get
In-ears.
injection
Yeah.
molded in-ears. So the in-ears,
was the
it's
weirdest
not like your iPod thing where you just take them in and out. They're specifically molded to our ear shape, and they're really high. It's like having high-end speakers inside your head, but it's like when you put them on, especially if you put 2 of them in, it's like you go into it feels like a fishbowl, kind of a little bit.
I
and
liken
it's
it to
just-
your
singing
own
inside of a
space.
bathtub
it is.
underwater.
Totally in your
Yeah, and
head.
it's crazy. And the cool thing is that we can have less or more of all the elements that we want, but it's so strange to get used to that when you have to sing and someone's talking in front of you, but they're only coming in your right ear, or there's all these
Right.
strange
I wish you could
elements.
just have these in-ears.
Thank God I
you
don't
should
do
see.
that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It took
Mad
it
respect.
literally
That's
took
incredible.
us weeks just to get
Yeah.
used to that.
I was gonna say many times, Margo has to act and everyone's singing, and so she's still, hearing the singing going on, but at the same time, seemingly she has to have this conversation with.
And
who's
we
out
have
in
our
front of her.
lifeline, which is our conductor. Usually in a musical, you're able to look at monitors for cutoffs.
Right.
You're able, because you have a whole ensemble of people needing to cut off at the same time. Instead, we have that in our ears. So our
I
conductor.
wish I could try that.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
incredible.
I wish that for you as
Yeah,
well.
Thank you, Margo. I'm gonna give you all a second challenge. It sounds like
Okay.
you've
All right.
Oh,
met the
Great.
first one. Here
Okay.
comes the second one.
Okay.
It is the 10 for 10 challenge.
Lovely.
You all
Okay.
get 10 questions and you get 10 seconds to answer each. I will split them up between you, so it won't
Okay.
be 30
Ooh,
questions.
That's good.
Okay, yeah.
That's it. Well,
Try your best.
Okay.
Here we go. Justin, this one's for you.
All right,
so
bring it.
there's 11 people
Yes.
in the cast, right? Some people play more than one character.
yes.
Rituals that the cast has as a whole before the show, or one person in particular who might have something crazy.
A ritual that we always do before the show is at 5 minutes we get together and we sing through the entire opening number in a room without any headphones or anything in. And it is such a beautiful experience because we're literally like, when you hear the orchestra tune up to 4/4 to A,
Yeah.
when it happens, and that's our version of that. And we all get in tune and then we go out laughing and
This is your
have a good
orchestra
time.
right
yeah,
here. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's fabulous. Heaven, the part of the show that you get most excited to perform each night.
Good question. Part of the show that most excited to perform. Honestly, it might sound cheesy, the opening, because it's just a powerful experience when you're introducing the art of vocal percussion and a cappella and the power of the two combined, and it's a great experience every single time to see the
powerful.
look on people's faces when they first experience that.
Yeah.
Margo, the funniest person in the cast.
We have a lot of funny people.
I was gonna say it's a hard
can
one.
tell. You
That's
guys
a hard
have
one. I
very
was
good
like,
chemistry.
We really, really do. I find our cast member Moya to be absolutely and utterly hilarious. Yeah, especially over our in-ears.
Oh, she'll do so. Okay.
Yeah, just occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun. We talk to
yeah.
each other a lot, but the audience can't hear it.
I want to know what you
yeah.
guys said. Justin, your best opening night present that you got.
Oh my goodness. Ooh.
No
pressure.
Ooh, the pressure. Wow, my best opening night. You know what? My best opening night present that I got, there is a lovely, legendary woman by the name of Alice Gilbert who has won the Governor's Tony and other Tonys for her work in costuming. And she works at Wicked now. And I did Wicked years ago. And out of nowhere, she just sent me this lovely little card. And she didn't have to do it. And it was such an honor for me to have, you know, her thinking of me on my special night. So that was really special. She's an absolutely lovely, legendary woman. And she thought of me. And I felt really honored.
That's incredibly sweet. That's awesome. Heaven, something you can't help but splurge on in New York.
Well,
I'm going to do too.
okay.
What is it?
M&M minis.
That's your splurge is M&M.
M&M
right around the
minis.
corner.
Hold on. M&M minis.
Like the
There's a
tiny
difference, and it matters.
Okay, the minis.
The minis.
Who knew?
This is his fuel food before he starts
Yeah,
beatboxing.
like,
I got it.
I don't know. It's like a texture thing. Like,
Is it though?
Yeah, they all have the same texture. Okay.
They're
All right,
tiny.
He's
we
a connoisseur.
accept it.
He's a connoisseur.
Margo, favorite day of the week to perform?
I really love a matinee. I know that's crazy, and
No,
everyone's
matinees
like,
are
"What?"
great.
I like there's Wednesday matinees. I'm alive.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the day. I'm not super tired yet. Wednesday matinees.
She's ready to go.
Boom.
Yep.
Justin, your favorite song to sing in the car when no one's watching or listening?
Oh my goodness, my favorite song to sing in the car when no one is watching or listening. The one that I bump, that I really love.
Yes.
Human Nature, Michael Jackson. I love it.
Oh, that's great.
I love it. It's a great
Oh,
song.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad you said that. Heaven, the New York City sound that's the easiest to replicate while beatboxing.
car, I guess.
That's a good one.
I feel like everyone would do a good car.
That's good.
Or, you know.
I've never tried, so I was wondering what it might be
Oh,
to you. Yeah,
don't worry, you will.
Good. At
We'll
the end
get
of
you
this,
in
we're going to
trouble.
do
We're
this?
gonna get you to try a few things.
You'll teach me, yes?
I
Okay.
got you, don't worry.
Good. Margo, 3 words to describe how you felt on opening night of the show.
3 words. I felt relieved. I felt relieved. I felt so grateful, and I felt kind of exhilarated.
Those are 3
Boom,
good ones.
3 words.
Boom. And Justin, we're going to give you the last one, which is applicable to everybody. In this show, there's a lot of talk about making it, right? Finding your
Sure.
way in New York.
Sure.
Everybody in the arts at some point in time has struggled or tried to get their name known. What is your advice in 10 seconds for people who are out there right now and want to make it, given the fact that you all have had such great success?
Sure. My best advice is to know what you want. Know what you want. Have a clear idea of exactly what it is that you want and focus on that every single day. Take baby steps towards that, but have a very, very clear goal of what it is that you want. If you want to get into, for example, like be a recording artist, well, what kind of music do you want to record? If I handed you an album contract today and said, here, you have everything, magic wand, what would you do? If you know all of those things, and if you focus on that every single day and take baby steps, eventually you'll get there one way or another.
Be focused. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Be clear, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, Margo, Heaven, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to have us, will you take us out with my new trend theme song?
Oh yeah.
Everyone, make sure to go see In Transit on Broadway. It is absolutely phenomenal. And thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to learn how to beatbox now. So we're
All
gonna
right.
Thank you guys. You're the best.
You just watch the trend at 1010 Wins.